Wing Chong, sometimes called Li Chong, was born November 8, 1879 in a small village near Canton, China. In China, Wing made sure his family and relatives were well fed, in particular with fish, as he was an avid fisherman. His father was a fisherman, coming several times to the Pacific coast to fish and make a living by canning and selling them in China. Wing would fight for China in the war to defeat the Mongolians. This victory for the Chinese was significant, as it put an end to the binding of feet of Chinese women. In 1898, he and Mr. Lem Wong would come to Canada, settling in London. Together they operated a dry goods store at the London Covent Market. They did this to satisfy immigration restrictions in Canada against the Chinese, which required them to run a private enterprise before they could bring their families to Canada. Owning a restaurant or a laundry did not satisfy these restrictions. Mr. Wong would stay on in London and prospered in the restaurant business. Wing Chong would come to Sarnia circa 1900 to 1902. They would bring their families over, paying an astronomical head tax price of $500 each. Wing would bring over his wife, Toy, and daughter, Florence. In those days, $500 would have bought you a house. After this, Mr. Chong and Mr. Wong closed the business in London. In Sarnia, Wing would be the first Chinese person to settle here. He would operate a laundry business as well as a Chinese store, which specialized in antiques, specialties, and dry goods from China. It was located next door to the laundry. The laundry was located at 109 South Christina Street next to Lawhead House, where the post office now stands. Behind the grocery store was a gambling house, where Wing and his pals would play mahjong and cards. The laundry itself, I think, was called Toy Lee Laundry, as I remember seeing a picture of it. Wing probably came to Sarnia because of his love of the water. Wing enjoyed the Canadian way of life. He would enjoy spending his money on Canadian goods. He would often rent a buggy for $1, travel to Point Edward, and get all their laundry just to make $3. At times he would go to the bar and buy himself a beer. Many times he would have a picture of himself taken alone or with the family, which would cost $1. Remember, wages were only 10 cents an hour back then. He was gifted in his ability of making Chinese dragon kites, selling them for as much as $5 each to Americans coming over on the ferry. I'm told that his antique business did quite well, too. A daughter, Jane, would be the first Chinese female baby born in Sarnia in June 1913. A daughter, Mary, was born in 1915. Also, a son, William, was born in March 1918 and had the honor of being the first male Chinese baby born in Sarnia. Throughout his life here, for more than 30 years, Wing Chong was a widely known and respected, shrewd businessman. Sarnia's first Chinese settler passed away on September 1st, 1934, and was interred at Lakeview Cemetery. His descendants to this day still call Sarnia their home. Presented on behalf of Darrell Chong, grandson of Wing Chong.